exclusive. Perdón. Excuseer. Excuseer, dames en heren.
Ja, ik vind dus dat dit echt niet kan hoor. Ik bedoel, maar nee, maar moeten we nu nog antwoorden of niet? Want,
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Yeah, sorry about that intro. I just couldn't help myself. So yeah, Sony have dropped what many feel is a bombshell announcement that they won't be attending E3 2019 in any capacity whatsoever. And of course, this has triggered a number of speculations as to why they have decided to do this. Things like they have nothing to show, or they are doing so well that they don't need to attend. To other more popular opinions that they are gearing up for the reveal of the PlayStation 5, but aren't quite ready yet to blow their load. Just yet. In the meantime, I'm sitting here thinking, that I honestly, I couldn't care really. And Sony completely abandoning E3. Next year is well, in a lot of ways simply their loss, because thankfully not one company controls this industry, and whether a few of them decide to attend a popular event or not, will not bring the gaming industry crashing down. But let's go back a little and remember what E3 used to be before it opened to the public. If I remember correctly, E3 started around 95, 96, something like that, and was essentially a trade show for all video game and tech-related companies to show off their current and up-and-coming wares. A place where the industry came together to check each other out, build contacts, but most of all have an event that ended up being viewed by the world, and that included consumers who loved video games. The first E3 that I personally remember was in 1998, as that's when I first started working at the Electronics Boutique, so my understanding of the games industry evolved greatly during that time. And of course we all know that 1998 was the best year in gaming, so all that hype, was there. But E3, as we know, has changed over the years, and in many ways has become less of an industry trade show and just more of an annual game show, one that is now completely open to the public. During this time, as well, other larger companies have either shifted their approach to E3, or, as we know, some have never attended it at all. The latest, the last biggest upset was Nintendo, deciding to abandon a staged press conference, at the event, and instead focus on what we now know as Nintendo Directs, pre-recorded videos that air at E3, and later followed up by live demonstrations of their reveal games at their Treehouse event, as well as having booths for developers and the public to try them out firsthand. Many people wrote off Nintendo during this transition, completely entrenched in the concept of stage press events, and of course who will win E3, based off this once stable formula, I suppose. But we all know how that ended, and Nintendo as a company have place themselves in a position where their IPs are, essentially so strong, well, many of them, essentially so strong that they could roll up to E3 with just one game and completely steal all media attention. And I've always asked myself what first-party games from Sony and Microsoft could achieve such a feat. My quick answer was simply none, off the top of my head. That I can't think of any single Sony game that could, that they could demonstrate just by itself that could hold up an entire E3 just for them. So that reminded me once again on what Sony and Microsoft have, for the most part, brought to the industry, and what they'll bring next. People saying that Sony not attending E3 2019 is a sign that they're gearing up for the PlayStation 5 and rolling up to E3 again with the likes of The Last of Us 2, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima. Just isn't worth the effort of spending millions on a live event. And in part, I can understand that logic. But one thing people need to understand is that E3 isn't just about Sony themselves. It's about the PlayStation brand, and the PlayStation brand is way more than just what Sony produces. The PlayStation brand was made famous because Sony, not being a games company themselves, had to buy games companies and also buy exclusives to their platform. So them avoiding E3 is in many ways them, in my mind, sticking their finger up to the other developers who place their content on Sony's machines and expect exposure from multiple avenues. Because at the end of the day, Sony are a console manufacturer, and it's up to them to provide exposure of what comes onto their platforms, because the platform is only as good as its games, people, and that will never change. So if Sony abandon E3, at least for next year, they without a doubt have to provide another alternative to show off what's coming to their platforms, both for consumers and the developers who invest their time and money into Sony platforms. For me, them leaving E3 this year is not an issue. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't care. One because Sony don't have a single juggernaut of a game for me, and two, their last E3 this year already showed their first party hand for next year. But of course, me being a begrudging PS4 owner, I still want to know and see what's coming to their platform, and this is a consumer necessity for Sony. They have confirmed, of course, that they'll be providing their own ways to show off what's coming to their platform in supposed new and exciting ways. But let's be honest, they if they don't copy Nintendo direction or go along that line, I'll be stunned if they come up with something truly original. But still, amid all this, I'm still slightly baffled as to why they abandoned the event completely. Not even having a show floor presence. Which leads me back to what they said when they cancelled PSX this year. Essentially stating that they have nothing worthwhile to show off in terms of progression with their already revealed software, which makes me wonder if undated games like The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima will indeed remain PS4 exclusives, or as I've probably said in the past or suspected, that they'll bridge platforms, be on the PS4 and the PS5, because let's be honest here, people, they make some pretty these games would make some pretty tasty PS5 launch titles, and Sony's history with showing games too early and those games crossing generations is well documented. One example is me actually buying my PlayStation 3 in order to play The Last Guardian, and we all know what happened there. And if that's the case, where does that leave the PlayStation 4 for 2019? I don't think Sony cares too much now, really. The PS4 has shifted over 80 million consoles in 5 years. That's nothing to be sniffed at for any platform holder. And then perhaps releasing one or two titles next year and solely relying on third parties to kind of carry them through to what I feel is the inevitable launch of the PS5 afterwards is something Sony consumers probably would not bat an eyelid at. And that finally leads me into a quick rant about next gen. The PS4 is 5 years old, and I recently tweeted that for me, I feel like this system has only just woken up. Not in terms of the amount of content it has, but what developers have achieved with modern hardware to move beyond what was possible before and offer something truly unique that is only capable on these machines. And aside from a few games, we really haven't seen much progress, I feel. We really haven't. When games like The Rise of the Tomb Raider can run on the Xbox 360 and produce virtually the same game as the PS4, the Xbox One version, you have to wonder why we changed generations. And when The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild puts to shame the open world mechanics that we've been subjected to all these years, a game that was originally designed for as well as released on the Nintendo Wii U, you once again have to question why developers needed more advanced tech when their latest games still don't do things that the Breath of the Wild does. Things that truly matter to the gameplay instead of just pleasing the eye with visual candy. Unfortunately, more powerful consoles do not make better developers, people. And what benefits do we get when these developers produce the same tired, broken games of more powerful and more expensive hardware? EA's Battlefield 5 is a testament to this. 5 years for the console like the PS4 is nowhere near enough for developers to get even two competent games out in such a time frame, let alone maximize the potential of a platform and give themselves time to think about where gaming should go and where they should take their own IPs into the next successful future. So you have to ask yourselves, aside from, once again, resolution and graphics, what can next gen bring us that's truly not possible with current consoles? And personally for me, I struggle to find anything right now. But anyway, I'm done here. Little rant here. But let me know your thoughts below about Sony skipping E3 and the rumbles of newer platforms on the horizon. And as always, I'll reply to every single one of you. So as always, take care and all. Peace.